Alright, I'm gonna make a little Volkswagen video here, finishing these heads up, at least this part anyway. I'm gonna lap the valves in real quick. We're using new TRW exhaust valves and refaced intake valves. Nice ones though, cut down. They've already been remachined for the other heads that the guides fell out of. So I got these cut. We'll go ahead and lap these in. I'm going to show you a little trick on the keepers, how to keep the keepers keeping on so the valve train holds up at excessive RPM, which normal Volkswagen operation is excessive. So my head bench, it's on back order. Well set. Anyway, I just like to make sure I got a seat on the seat from the valve job. Looks beautiful. I'll wipe that stuff out of there because it's water based and it'll make your seat rust. So these get washed after this process. I just wanted to make sure the valve seats were good on these, because I lapped the other heads in and I didn't lap these in. I cut all 4 seats, or all 8 seats, or all 16 seats at one time. I did 2 sets of heads. That didn't work out too well. I got a month's worth of valve lapping compound there all at once. We show everything here. You don't need a lot of that stuff, just a little bit will do you. You don't have to sit there and do that too long. A lot of guys like to use the drill and do that. And you don't really want to do that because then it makes the seat really fat. And a fat seat means no power. You want about 60 thousandths if you were going to measure it. You know, I've never really got into the measurements with you guys because I just learned how to do it. I usually get the seat that I want, and so we really don't talk about it, but I'll show you the valve. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's the seat, the little gray mark on there. It's a little bit off the edge of the valve. You don't want it right at the top on the exhaust. You want it more towards the top on the intake valve. Go ahead and lap the intakes in next. Either get way too much or not enough, you know, what are you gonna do? All right. You can spit on this, but I don't want to gross you out, so I'll do it off camera there. Give it a little lick, it sticks better. You can almost hear the tone change as the valve laps into the seat. A lot of guys don't lap the valve job in anymore. They cut the seat and stick the valve in there, and it will fire up. And a lot of times that'll pass the vacuum test, but a lot of times it seems like the motor just runs better if you lap them in. That's why I always say, even if you buy a brand new set of heads, you should pretty much follow this procedure that we're doing right now, even if it's a brand new head. Undo them, take them apart, make sure the valves aren't too tight and the guides. Go down to AutoZone or O'Reilly's or whatever you have in your neighborhood and get you some valve lapping compound. A little suction stick, lapping stick, and lap the valves in. Make sure that you have a seat that is mating to the valve, and it can't hurt anything to do that. And the other thing that you need to check for is what I'm going to show you next. So if you guys got bored and left, should have stayed. Anyway, here's the intake. Like I told you, I like that a little closer to the margin, the edge of the valve, whatever you want to call it. About 60 thousandths wide all the way around the valve, and that's a pretty good performance valve job. It'll work really good. And this is for buddy's bus. He's got a panel, a 1968 panel bus, pretty clean. And yeah, this little set of heads all ported and polished up. Bowls all done, seats radiused. Should run really well. And we're putting a camshaft in here. So anytime you incorporate a cam, you have to have higher spring pressure. And we're going to have chrome moly retainers. These are the springs we're going to go with. We're going to go with some bug pack singles. These are good up to almost, I think 450, 500 lift is what they claim. I'd say 450 is more safe. They're very tall, so you get a nice installed height out of them. And you can turn the motor about 5,500. 6,000 RPM. I've turned my personal car with them, you know, so they turn up pretty good. And they turn up a little further than the other springs I like. Can't remember the name of them. I don't want to get the brand wrong, but whatever Triangle has down there, API, IPA, something like that. And the bug pack is probably the, you know, they're both good. That's probably the better one. But anyway, next thing we're going to do is take the valve, and we're going to take our hardened keepers. These are black. You can tell they're hardened, but they're not always ground. And what they mean by ground, you used to buy these from Berg, and they would come fitted to the stem of the valve here. A lot of times you'll buy a keeper, and you'll put it on the valve like so. I don't know if you're catching this. That's how it basically goes. And let me see if I have a retainer around here so I can show you the way this works. There's a spring. And move this head out of the way. I don't need that right now. Stock keeper here for demonstration purposes. This is a stock spring that's well used. So basically you have your valve, you have your spring, you have your retainer, and then you have your two keepers. And this is what the valve and the keeper setup looks like together. And you know, this would be in the head, and the spring is what controls the valve. Well, the way this locks together is it uses these two little things called keepers, and we'll reinstall these on here. They have a wedge shape to them, almost a 45. I'm not sure of the exact angle, and they fit in top of the retainer there, and it locks the valve to place, and that's what keeps the valve in your cylinder head. And this is the basic setup that all cars use that have a valve spring. They make a 7-degree and a 10-degree lock keeper, and it's a single groove instead of 3 grooves like these are. And you'll find those on like a Chevrolet or a Ford. However, you can see here with our assembly put together, I don't know if you can see that or not, but you can see the keepers are touching each other. You don't want this to happen. This is one of the things, if you don't take your cylinder heads apart when you buy them and do this, and the first time you go to service your motor, you'll find that the keepers are very hard to get off of the retainers. This will be stuck up here, and when you try to compress this off of the keepers, it'll be very hard. You'll have to hit it with a hammer, and a lot of times you'll have to pry these off, and when you finally get them off, this surface of the valve will be very sharp. And a lot of guys make a very critical mistake at this point. They'll take the valve spring and the retainer off, and then they'll drive this valve out of the head through the valve guide. And with all these raised up, it destroys the valve guide. So a lot of times what you need to do is take a file and file this surface after you get all this off of it before you pull it through the guide. So to avoid all that happening, this is getting long-winded, what you need to do is take the keepers and you need to grind them. And we're going to use the valve grinding wheel over here, the facer for the tip. And it's nice and flat. You can use a grinding wheel at home, but we're going to use this. This is the setup. A pair of vice grips. Grab the keeper. It's got an angle on the keeper. You know, you're not trying to reshape the keeper, you're just taking a little bit of material off of this so they're not touching each other when they're assembled onto the valve. And you can see the surface is ground pretty much flat, both sides. That's what you're looking for. And you don't want to just grind the crap out of one of them, you know, you take a little off of each one. Keep it as symmetrical as possible. There you go, nice and flat. You don't want to grind the tip of your pliers. Don't try to hold those with your hands either, unless your fingertips are dead. Now we're going to reinstall them on here. And this is what you're looking for. Now you can see the, let me position this just right. The keepers actually rock on each other, so they're not touching. And you want to have a little bit of space. I don't know if you can see that gap in between the keepers. That means that our keeper is now fully engaged in the locking area in the valve, and it's got maximum grip. When they touch each other, these aren't all the way in, and what they do is they just wear on those locks. This is a much more positive setup. It only takes a few minutes to do it. Well, it'll take you about probably an hour. If you got to take the heads apart and lap them in, that's going to take longer. But this is the kind of stuff that pays off for the life of the engine. You know, you just can't replace this stuff. This is if you want to turn the motor, you know, 5,000 RPM. If you want to go down the highway at 4,500 and not worry about this falling off and causing you all kinds of trouble. This is the first step, you know. Proper spring pressure is one thing, and then you want to make sure that your locks are actually locking and not touching against each other, wearing the grooves of the valve out. So I hope that helps. Hope that wasn't too long. And I'm gonna go ahead and assemble these heads next. I'm not gonna make a video of that, I don't think. And I'll get all this stuff apart, get everything washed. I have to wash the heads now, and we'll clean those with hot soap and water, give them a nice bath. I'm gonna drill the stud out real quick first before I clean them. Got a couple of broken exhaust studs. Now's the time to fix those. And we'll put the new studs in, then we'll give them a bath, and we'll bring them up here and assemble them. And the next thing we'll do is put the cam gear on the camshaft. We're gonna use the scat gear. We're gonna use the scat cam C35. So we'll show you how to bolt the gear on there and line the dots up and all that stuff. And that'll be another video. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope that helped. It's grinding the valve keepers.